The Knicks continue to be linked to a number of players around the league. And even though New York has limited trade assets, according to new reports, teams are showing significant interest in one of the Knicks' trade assets, specifically their 2030 draft pick. We're going to break down all of these latest reports today. But before we get started, guys, about 55% of you watching this video right now are not subscribed to the channel. We are on a mission to try to reach 25,000 subscribers, and we could really use your support. If you enjoy daily Knicks content like this, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button because it could really support all the great content that we're creating for you. And now, let's get started. Teams are interested in the Knicks 2030 draft pick. The Knicks are in a very tricky situation. It's very difficult for them to make another move to improve this roster. New York is hard capped at the second apron. That basically means that in trades with most teams, they have to match the salary from the incoming player dollar for dollar. If that's not bad enough, the Knicks already are limited in the trade assets they have available. However, according to NBA insider with The Athletic, James L. Edwards, he recently gave us an update on the Knicks' current trade assets and what teams are asking for in potential trades with New York. Let's break down these following reports. According to Edwards, as far as non-player assets go, the most enticing chips, and I use enticing loosely, the Knicks can offer another team is a 2026 first-round pick swap and a 2030 first-round pick swap. If the Knicks aren't a top 4 team in the East in 2026, something went really wrong. Teams I've talked to around the league don't value the 2026 first-round pick swap as of right now. The 2030 swap, though, is far enough to where a team could talk itself into it, and it is deemed to have differing degrees of value by rival teams. Other teams, however, have more to offer than the Knicks for good role players. Edwards continues here by stating, the 2030 pick swap, with a healthy Mitchell Robinson and the expiring contract of Precious Achiuwa, might move the needle for a rival team or two, while also allowing New York to take in $20 million in salary to bolster its bench. Yet, there hasn't been any real indication that Robinson will be back on the floor anytime soon. Head coach Tom Thibodeau said the other day that Robinson has not even been cleared for full sprinting as of yet. Now, I completely understand why that 2030 pick is so desirable. It's because most teams believe that the Knicks in 2030 will not look like the team they look like right now. Basically meaning they believe the Knicks will not be contenders in 2030. And if that's what you believe, more power to you. That's not what I believe. That's not what this New York fan base believes. That's not what this Knicks team believes. We believe that we have a championship window that we can continue to extend if we make the right moves happen and we make the right trades. Right now, there is not one player available on the trade market that I would use that 2030 pick swap for with Mitchell Robinson and Precious Achiuwa. I would rather keep those assets and wait till the offseason or another point in time to make another deal. Because right now, there is no player available that I would be happy with giving that package up for. No one. If the Knicks gave that up for Jonas Valanciunas, they got fleeced. If they gave it up for Walker Kessler, they got fleeced. They do not need to give up this many assets to land a player like that. And if they believe they do, then the opposing team has done their job very well. They led you to believe that you have to pay this heavy of a price to get a player like this. We're trying to talk about getting role players on this team, depth players. So you're telling me to get a depth player on this team, I have to give up a 2030 pick swap? No, thank you. I would rather wait for Mitchell Robinson to come back healthy and see what he could add to this team once that happens. And Achiuwa, off the bench, his rebounding, his defense, the double big lineup that we consistently see with him and Towns, I like that. I like the defense. I like the offense. I like the way they pass the ball and they move without the ball. So Achiuwa staying part of this team, that is absolutely something that I would want. Right now, he plays significant minutes off the bench. I am not trying to trade away players that are getting minutes off the bench. I want to add players that will get minutes on the bench because that's what we need. More depth. We cannot continue to play the starters 40 plus minutes a night. We cannot do it. We need to add more pieces off the bench that Tom Thibodeau trusts and will utilize. But we cannot do that at the expense of Precious Achiuwa, Mitchell Robinson, and that 2030 pick swap. It doesn't make sense. Those are valuable assets that we need to hold on to for that player that becomes available that we absolutely covet. If that player is not available, I'm not moving on from Mitch just to move on from Mitch to get another player who may or may not fit here. Tom Thibodeau himself poses an obstacle because even though you're traded here, it doesn't mean that you're going to play significant time. Look at the Cam Reddish situation. He was traded here. Did he play significant time? Maybe during a couple of stretches of games, but after that, he was benched, never to be seen again. And even though it has a good ending because we traded him to get Josh Hart, and we've seen the impact Josh Hart has on this team, it still points to the fact we don't want to make a bad move just to make a bad move. We need to understand what's on the table, what we're going to get back, and the impact to our team. And it seems like the Knicks have already assessed that. And at this point in time, at least according to these reports from James L. Edwards, New York is unlikely to make a major trade happen this season. That trade, even if it does happen, is likely going to happen this following offseason. Let's break down these reports from Edwards as well. According to Edwards, he predicts that the Knicks won't make a trade of significance until the summer at the earliest. Here's what Edwards had to say about this. My gut has told me and continues to tell me that New York will use this entire season as an evaluation period. If it comes with a trip to the Eastern Conference Finals or beyond, great. However, it feels right now that the Knicks will reassess and make significant tweaks around the margins after the season. I don't necessarily think that is the route they want to take, though. It's the situation they find themselves in with so much money tied to the starters as well as Mitchell Robinson, the only other player with a hefty contract, possibly not playing in a game before February 6th trade deadline. The long-term injury to Robinson has New York in a bit of a jam. If healthy, the team very much could use his services as an elite rim protector and lob threat. They could use the depth. With that said, the team also has to strongly consider drawing a line in the sand for a player who is rarely available. Apart from a lower-level trade, I don't see the Knicks doing anything significant. I don't see them trading even Mitchell Robinson at this point. If that trade does happen, I see that happening at the end of the season, where they're able to better reassess, understand the major weaknesses of the roster and where they need to improve, and then making that trade in the offseason. Honestly speaking, this season right now, as I'm understanding it and looking at it, it seems like it's an evaluation period. I'm not saying they don't want to win. They do. I'm not saying they don't want to go after a championship. They do. But they also want to utilize this time to evaluate the roster, see our strengths, but also our weaknesses, because we need to understand where we should improve, what we should do better, who we should go after, who we should add to this team. Understanding all of that is going to make the offseason a lot better for us because we're going to know who to go after, who to trade, and who to retain on this team. And New York needs that level of confidence. We need to understand who's part of the future and who's not. Mitchell Robinson, as of right now, is teetering on the fence. He could be part of the future, especially if he returns, he's healthy and has a significant impact, plays consistently. But if it goes the opposite way, maybe he's not here long term. Maybe New York looks to trade him this offseason. Robinson is going to define his own legacy with this team based on his health, his availability, and how he looks when he's out there. It's all going to be up to Robinson. If you don't want the Knicks to make a trade, when Robinson comes back, pray that he looks even better than he did before. The Knicks won't make a trade at that point. But if we're talking about Mitchell Robinson only, the only team that would make sense to trade with the Knicks for Robinson would be a tanking team. And that's the Wizards. And if you're talking about the Wizards, you're talking about Jonas Valanciunas. And that's likely the only move on the table if the Knicks want to make the move. But according to these reports, that move might be considered a major move or a significant move. And these reports indicate they're not looking to do that. Lower level move, bench move, depth move. Yeah, I can see that happening. Major trade does not look like it's in the cards. Not only because of Robinson's value and how he's seen around the league, but also the limited amount of trade assets the Knicks have available and also what they're willing to part with. The Knicks would never part with that 2030 pick for just a regular trade, a normal trade, a lower level trade. They're going to give that pick up if they're getting a significant, important piece back. That does not exist right now. So that means a trade involving that asset doesn't exist either. But what about you guys? What do you think about the following reports indicating that the Knicks' best and most valued trade asset is their 2030 pick swap? Let me know how you feel about that in the comment section below, guys, because honestly, I would love to hear from you. But that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, go ahead and smash that like button, leave a comment below. And of course, guys, please subscribe to the channel. Until next time, Knicks fans, take care of yourself, your families, and each other. Peace and love.